never thought that I will be in the field of academia because when I was a kid, I imagined that I will follow the footsteps of my mom. But nevertheless, I will share to you how I handle my class, a philosophy class. So I call this as a discussion-based approach. Now, I have 7 points about my talk about discussion-based approach. First, of course, we have the introduction, background information, discussion points, counter arguments and rebuttals. Of course, this is a philosophy class. Exploring different perspectives. Second to the last, examples and illustrations. And of course, lastly, the conclusions. First, we have the introduction. As facilitators of learning, we must have to catch their attention. So first, attention grabbing opening statement or anecdote. We really have to establish this in our class. And second, briefly introduce the topic and its relevance. A philosophy class, I consider this as second to history as one of the boring class. So how did I do it? How did I try to engage within my class into a fun of having class? So that's it. Briefly introduce the topic and its relevance. Then next, third is state your thesis or your argument. Since again, it is a philosophy class. Second, the background information. Background information which will provide essential context and background information on the topic. Second, highlight the key terms or concepts that will be discussed, of course. And lastly, share the relevant statistics, facts, or examples to support your points. Philosophy class deals with current issues. So that's why it is really necessary that when you open a topic, when you give an example, you must have to provide a real life example. Now, on the discussion points, you have, as a philosophy teacher, we must have to identify the present main points or argument related to the topic, and we have, of course, to relate it to the contemporary issues. And with that, we must have to support each point, of course, with evidence, examples, or expert opinions. Lastly, connect the points logically and provide smooth transitions. Providing smooth transitions is very important, of course. Why? So that the transition of knowledge, our students will not be confused from one topic to another. Now, the fun will start in a philosophy class once there is already this what we call the counter arguments and rebuttals. First, acknowledge potential counter arguments or opposing viewpoints. A philosophy class is boring if you don't acknowledge their rebuttals. You don't acknowledge the potential counter arguments. And with that, you have to address each counter argument with logical reason or evidence. Of course, it is really important that we will show evidence. And then lastly, refute counter arguments and reassert your main points. So that's number 4. Now, fifth, exploring different perspective. Of course, when you explore, we have to discuss alternative perspectives of viewpoints on the topic. Highlight the strengths and weaknesses of these perspectives. Why it is important to highlight the strengths and weaknesses? Because through this, we would be able to connect deeply with your students. Next, present your own perspective and explain its advantages or uniqueness. Now, with that, you have to provide, as mentioned a while ago, examples and illustrations. Use real-life examples. Real-life examples in a philosophy class is very important. Why? Because philosophy class, specifically ethics, is a life coach class. That's why it is really important to provide a real life example. Make your topic relatable and understandable to your audience so that you can connect with them. And lastly, explain the significance and implications of the example. And lastly, summarize the main points discussed in the speech, reinforce the thesis or main argument, then end with a thoughtful or thought-provoking statement, a call to action, or a memorable quote. I usually end my class with a quote. The lack of knowledge can be supplemented with morality, but the lack of morality cannot be supplemented with knowledge once lacked in ethics. That would be all. Thank you for listening.